Remember those long, eerie nights during the COVID-19 lockdowns when every cough felt suspicious and quarantine became part of your daily vocabulary? If you thought that was scary, you're in for a spine-tingling treat. Dive into our list of 15 chilling virus horror films that will infect your nightmares, a collection of outbreaks that are far more sinister than anything we could have imagined in real life. From undead pandemics and alien viruses to infections with absolutely no cure, these movies are here to unleash a whole new level of contagious chaos. Ready to face some nightmares of the viral variety? Grab your mask, or maybe your popcorn, and let the infection begin. But before we jump in, we have a small request. Please support us by subscribing to our channel. It is a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thanks. 28 days later, 2008. Picture this. You wake up one day and the world's a ghost town, crumbling and abandoned all around you. Your family, they died praying you would never wake up. Your friends, roaming the streets as zombies. That was the world of Jim, a simple bicycle courier who had woken up from a coma. Great Britain had been infected with a highly contagious virus called the Rage virus, which was quickly infecting people, causing them to turn into zombies. Not just regular zombies, but aggressive and violent ones. This is a story of survival, friendship, and heartbreak. Oh, and Cillian Murphy is the main lead. If that didn't get your attention, I don't know what will. Inspired by the Night of the Living Dead film series by John Wyndham's novel, The Day of the Triffids, 28 Days Later is written by Alex Garland and directed by Danny Boyle. Set in a 2002 British post-apocalyptic world, this horror film will surely haunt you with its intense atmosphere, raw, realistic tone, and, of course, Murphy's eyes. With an IMDb rating of 7.5 out of 10, this movie is considered a modern classic. Danny Boyle works his magic by making this movie stylish and bone-chillingly realistic, with a dash of political allegory.
Logical knockout lines like we did, but the key was a fetal bat cell line from Geelong. We didn't have it.
Contagion, 2011. Contagion, written by Scott Z. Burns and directed by Steven Soderbergh, hits a bit close to home. It begins with a woman unknowingly carrying a virus from Hong Kong to the US. Within days, her illness spreads to her daughters, then neighbors. And soon enough, the virus is spreading worldwide. The film strikes all the familiar chords: panicked overstocking of supplies, overwhelmed health officials, and desperate efforts to identify and contain the disease. With an IMDb rating of 6.8 out of 10, this Soderbergh masterpiece is a must-watch. The accuracy of the film and the level of detail it contains cannot be described with words alone. With a cast filled with A-listers such as Matt Damon, Jude Law, and Kate Winslet, delivering performances of a lifetime, it will make you feel every scare and every heartbreak. The film also breaks down the science of viruses, how they are transmitted, and how vaccines help, so you will actually learn a bit while enjoying the movie. The film was praised by not just the critics and media, but also by the scientists for their level of accuracy. Soderbergh also brings his famous narrative style of hyperlink cinema, wherein each character arc is nuanced and detailed. Watching Contagion would be like looking at a mirror, especially after the 2020 pandemic. So what do you think? Are you up for the challenge?
¡Los buzones! ¡Se llama
Wreck, 2007. When horror meets found footage, you know you are in for a thrill. Wreck is a Spanish movie written and directed by Jaume Balaguero and Paco Plaza. The story revolves around reporters Angela and Pablo, who are covering the story of Barcelona's local fire station for a television series. The story picks up pace with a call from an old woman who claims to be trapped in her apartment. The reporters, along with two firefighters, go to rescue the woman, only to be aggressively attacked. They later find that the police and military have sealed off the building, trapping them all inside. One by one, The residents get infected with this unknown disease, making them aggressive and murderous. We know of the found footage style that many movies try to adopt, such as the Blair Witch Project. Now, Rec not only embraces this style of shooting, but they do it in such a beautiful manner that it makes you feel like you are right there. The slight shaking of the camera suggests fear and building suspense. Oof. And just when you think you've figured it out and brace yourself for the movie, it hits you with unexpected twists. The somber atmosphere they've masterfully created with the dim lighting, cramped hallways, and eerie sounds makes you feel like you are right there, trapped in the apartment building. From the moment the chaos starts, it just doesn't stop. Rec is a tale of survival against all odds. It's so good that you will not be able to peel your eyes away from the screen. No, not even for a second. I guarantee you that much. The Crazies, 2010. The Crazies ideally is a remake of George Romero's 1973 movie, The Crazies. Set in the fictional town of Ogden Marsh in Iowa, the story begins with Sheriff David Dutton killing Rory, a resident who threatened to shoot up a baseball game. After a series of attacks later, David and his deputy Russell investigate the area, discovering a military aircraft that had crashed into their land days before, contaminating their water. David was convinced that this contaminated water was the reason for all the bizarre behavior, but before he could stop it, the residents were quarantined at the local high school, including his wife, Judy, who was not infected. The Crazies focuses on a group of survivors trying to escape the chaos. It explores themes of control, fear, and the lengths people are willing to go to survive. The film masterfully builds suspense, and the sense of dread is so thick you can cut it with a knife. Breck Eisner, the director, utilized a gritty style that enhanced the horror elements, and he filled the movie with thrilling, action-packed scenes that were sure to pump you up with adrenaline. The subtle critique of government responses to crisis and social commentary makes it an interesting watch. If you are a fan of horror and action, what are you waiting for? World War Z, 2013. I don't think I know of anyone who hasn't heard of this film. If you are a zombie movie fan, and let's be real, you must be if you're watching this video and you haven't seen this film yet, I just have to say I'm deeply disappointed in you. World War Z is not only a commercial success, but it was the highest grossing zombie film of all time. Yeah, it's just that good. But then again, did you expect anything less from Brad Pitt? I didn't. The story revolves around Jerry Lane, a retired United Nations investigator who is called back to duty to help find the cure for the zombie pandemic taking over the world. World War Z will take you on a global journey to South Korea, Israel, Cardiff, and so on, making the stakes feel enormous. The film was inspired by the 2006 Max Brooks book of the same name and directed by Mark Forster. The cinematography is breathtaking, and the special effects are top-notch. The blend of suspense, mystery, and science fiction elements will keep you engaged and guessing till the very end. And, of course, our action star Brad Pitt has also done some intense, fast-paced action sequences that will definitely keep you on the edge of your seat throughout. I guess it's time for a rewatch. Cabin Fever, 2002. Let's take a break from the zombie movies, shall we? The next one on our list is the cult classic Cabin Fever. The first installment of the Cabin Fever franchise is a comedy horror film co-written and directed by Eli Roth. The film revolves around a group of 5 friends who head off to a remote cabin in the woods for a weekend of fun, laughter, and partying. Things start off great, till one of them gets a little too close and personal with a flesh-eating virus. He tries to put it past him and go back to his friends, but they are soon attacked by the virus. Chaos and paranoia-driven madness ensues, and they start turning on each other. Viewers love this quirky approach to horror, so with a rating of 5.6 out of 10, Cabin Fever is one of the most hyped-up movies of all time. This was the movie that put Eli Roth on the map as a filmmaker, and this was the start of the classic Eli Roth troupe of movies: jump scares, gore, and dark humor. The characters often find themselves in ridiculous situations, and their reactions to the unfolding horror add a lot of humor, making for a good watch. Oh, and let's not forget about the graphic visuals that will either make you throw up or keep you glued to the screen. This movie will take you on a wild ride through friendship, fear, and festering flesh. Are you ready? Train to Busan, 2016. Another one of my favorites. In an extremely biased opinion, Train to Busan is one of the best movies ever made. Okay, yeah, and it's one of the best zombie movies ever made. This has nothing to do with my love for the main lead of the movie, Gong Yu. Okay, maybe it does. The film even broke the record for the most moviegoers. Seok-woo is a negligent workaholic father who decides to let his daughter spend her birthday with her mother after she has a breakdown due to his absence. They board a high-speed train at Seoul Station to Busan along with several other passengers, including Sang-hwa and his wife Sung-kyung, Young-suk and his girlfriend Jin-hee, Young-suk, sisters In-gil and Jung-gil, and a homeless man. What begins as a normal train ride quickly becomes a struggle for survival when an infection breaks out and passengers turn into aggressive zombies. The remaining survivors strive to get to Busan, where a quarantine zone is established by the military. Amid the chaos and the claustrophobic train environment, the group faces ethical dilemmas, internal tensions, and selfish decisions. The movie initially premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in 2016, where it received a standing ovation. With an IMDb rating of 7.6 out of 10, Train to Busan is a commercial success, with viewers naming it as one of the best zombie films ever made. Also, a fun fact, the filmmakers used minimal CGI effects and leaned heavily on well-choreographed stunts and physical acting to make the zombies look more authentic. Man, this is one train you have to board.
Okay, no, Grant, you're making sense. Okay, if you say don't understand, it defeats the purpose.
Ponti Poool, 2008. Ponti Poool is a Canadian horror film directed by Bruce McDonald, based on the Tony Burgess novel Ponti Poool Changes Everything. The film presents a unique take on the zombie genre, and the director names them conversationalists rather than zombies. Set in a small town in Ontario, the story follows radio DJ Grant Mazzy, Stephen McHattie, his producer Sydney, Lisa Houlet, their technician Laul, Georgina Riley, and a few other people who work at the radio station. The team receives reports of a strange epidemic that's affecting the townspeople, and they learn that the infection is transmitted through the English language. Infection spread through communication. Now, that's actually kind of smart, don't you think? Imagine a Chinese whisper game gone wrong. With an IMDb rating of 6.7 out of 10, Ponti Poool has stood out in this genre for its originality and unique approach to storytelling. Might I also mention that much of the dialogues were improvised by the actors? They were absolutely brilliant. The film explores themes of communication, media influence, and the power of language. They also rely on the confined setting and the clever use of sound design to create and heighten the tension that is bound to keep you on the edge throughout the film. Also, they have added a subtle hint of romance between Grant and Sydney, and it's the most endearing thing ever. If you are looking for a horror film that challenges conventions and stimulates the mind while delivering suspense, look no further.
It's working.
I Am Legend, 2007. Now, I Am Legend is a true classic, directed by Francis Lawrence and based on Richard Matheson's short story of the same name. This movie was in the works since 1994, but only came to life in 2007. It stars Will Smith as Dr. Robert Neville, Alice Braga as Anna, Charlie Tahan as Ethan, and Dash Mihak as the leader of the Darkseekers. The film follows the story of how a virus, in an attempt to cure cancer leads to the near extinction of the human race. The remaining humans are transformed into mutated, vampire-like creatures known as Darkseekers. Neville, a brilliant scientist, is the sole survivor, and he conducts experiments to develop a cure for the virus using his own immune blood. During that time, he broadcasts radio messages hoping to find other survivors, and at night, he defends himself from the aggressive Darkseekers. The film portrays a post-apocalyptic New York City, and the visuals of the deserted and overgrown Brooklyn Bridge and Times Square are hauntingly beautiful. They actually gave two endings to the movie, one different from the one in the theatrical release, and since it has been included in the special editions of the film, be careful because one of the endings is considerably way sadder than the other one. Just ask my broken heart. With an IMDb rating of 7.2 out of 10, I Am Legend has received positive reviews for its compelling narrative and emotional depth. The film title speaks for itself, for Will Smith's portrayal of his character was indeed legendary.
If this is really something new, some brand new form of life.
The best hope of cracking it is to be grinding.
The Andromeda Strain, 1971. An oldie but a goodie, The Andromeda Strain is a science fiction thriller directed by Robert Wise, based on the 1969 novel by Michael Crichton. The story begins when a satellite carrying a deadly alien microorganism crashes in a remote town in New Mexico, wiping out the entire population of the town. The government quickly quarantines the area and sends a team of scientists led by Dr. Stone, Arthur Hill, and surgeon Dr. Hall, James Olsen, to investigate the organism, named the Andromeda Strain. As the team delves deeper into their research, they find that the microorganism exhibits unpredictable behaviors and can survive in various environments. The scientists must race against time to understand the alien organism and prevent a potential outbreak that could threaten humankind. The Andromeda Strain's visual effects were way advanced for its time, and it's often credited in various movies and television shows for popularizing the bio-thriller genre. The film combines scientific inquiry with suspenseful storytelling and builds a constant sense of tension throughout the film, which, as a viewer, is very engaging. The cast delivers strong performances that add such quality and depth to the characters, and the subject is so relevant and accurate that even scientists were impressed. It remains relevant even today. The film received a rating of 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, and the audience praised it for its realistic portrayal of the scientific inquiry and the ethical dilemmas faced by such a situation. If you are a fan of old classic, then definitely add this to your list. Resident Evil, 2002. Resident Evil, for lack of better words, is a cult favorite. Although it now has around 6 sequels, the first one will forever remain a favorite. Resident Evil skillfully blends thrilling action sequences with intense horror and creates a fast-paced movie that is guaranteed to pump you up with adrenaline from the second you hit play. It was initially inspired by Capcom's popular video games of the same name. The film begins in a secret underground lab owned by the Umbrella Corporation, wherein scientists research bioweapons. They accidentally give life to a deadly virus, which turns employees into flesh-eating zombies and other mutated creatures. To contain the outbreak, the lab is sealed off, with everyone trapped inside. Hearing this, Alice, Mila Jovovich, who has amnesiac problems, along with a team of commandos, enters the lab to learn about the virus and to contain it. The story follows the efforts of the team as they battle the horrific creatures and discover dark truths about the Umbrella's experiments. The film found worldwide success and developed a cult following, ultimately spawning an extensive film franchise. Mila's portrayal of Alice was so convincing and iconic that she was later crowned the reigning queen of kick-butt, which she honestly deserves because she did all that combat and acrobatic scenes on her own with rigorous physical training. Talk about dedication. With an IMDb rating of 6.6 out of 10, Resident Evil has garnered a mixed critical review. But from 2006 to date, the film's combination of horror, action, and sci-fi has continued to intrigue and captivate audiences. Fans especially love the film for bringing elements of the beloved game series to life, not to mention for offering a strong female lead when female-centric roles were scarce. Carriers, 2009. Carriers is a thriller movie directed by Alex and David Pastor, which follows a group of 4 friends: Brian, Chris Pine, Bobby, Piper Perabo, Danny, Lou Taylor Pucci, and Kate Emily Van Camp as they navigate a world devastated by a highly contagious virus. Brian creates a set of rules meant to keep them safe, which they strictly follow as they embark on their journey to reach a safe haven, their vacation home in Turtle Beach, Texas, and get away from the chaos. They must stay away from infected individuals and confront difficult decisions that test their loyalty and humanity during increasingly desperate situations. Tensions arise when they realize that the threat of the virus is not the only danger they face. Carriers were shot in New Mexico, where they utilized the dark landscapes to enhance the film's post-apocalyptic atmosphere. They also opted for practical environments instead of CGI, which makes the film feel more authentic and gritty. Instead of focusing on graphic violence or action, the film focuses on character development and emotional tension, which is rather refreshing. The film builds a steady sense of dread throughout, as the survivors face challenges of their own relationships and survival instincts, as well as a raging virus. It wonderfully explores the extent to which fear can drive people to make questionable choices. With an IMDb rating of 6 out of 10, Carriers has found its niche audience, which appreciates its introspective approach to the post-apocalyptic genre. If you are in the mood for a thriller that delves into the psychological effects of a pandemic, then I must say Carriers is a compelling watch. Not to mention, it's Chris Pine. Contracted, 2013. Contracted, directed by Eric England, follows the story of Samantha Najara Townsend, a young waitress who, after a night of intense partying, is drugged and raped by a stranger who goes by the name BJ, Simon Barrett. After regaining her consciousness, Samantha begins to experience strange symptoms, including severe fatigue, unusual body changes, and losing massive amounts of blood. Desperate to understand what is happening to her, she goes to the hospital, but only to be diagnosed with a mysterious infection. As her condition worsens, she becomes increasingly isolated and aggressive with her friends and mother. The infection manifests itself in grotesque and disturbing ways as she grapples with her deteriorating state. Contracted premiered at various film festivals, including the Los Angeles Film Festival, and garnered attention for its provocative subject matter and unique storytelling style. Unlike the other movies, which are based on survival and escaping the zombies, this movie is taken from the perspective of the zombie. The psychological and physiological changes they go through during the period of transformation are brutal and unsettling. The film also delves into the psychological ramifications of sexual violence, exploring how trauma can manifest physically and emotionally, making it a more profound experience than typical horror films. With an IMDb rating of 5.3 out of 10, Contracted has garnered a polarizing reception, with some viewers appreciating its bold storytelling and others critiquing its graphic content. Fans of body horror and psychological thrillers often praise the film for its raw, unfiltered portrayal of a woman's struggle against both external and internal demons.
Jesus Christ.
Virus, 1999. Virus is a 1999 sci-fi horror film directed by John Bruno and based on the Dark Horse comic series by Chuck Farrar. The story centers around a tugboat crew led by Captain Robert Everton, Donald Sutherland, and Chief Engineer Steve Baker, William Baldwin, who discover an abandoned Russian research vessel, the academic Vladislav Volkov, adrift in the South Pacific. They board the ship, hoping to salvage it for profit. However, they soon realize that the ship has been taken over by a sentient alien entity that arrived via a lightning strike, disabling its crew and beginning to build monstrous robotic human hybrids from the crew's bodies and parts of the ship. One by one, the crew members are attacked and hunted by these monstrous hybrids as they try to escape from it and prevent them from making more of these creatures. Virus builds suspense through its claustrophobic setting, combining sci-fi horror elements with gory special effects. Virus was the directorial debut of director John Bruno, who has gone forward and done other masterpieces like The Abyss and Terminator 2. It is filmed on an actual ship, and they used practical effects extensively, creating large-scale animatronic creatures and effects for the alien robot hybrids, giving the film an eerie, realistic quality. With an IMDb rating of 5.0 out of 10, Virus has received mixed reviews, with some appreciating its ambition while others critiquing its plot and dialogue. Despite this, the film has gained a bit of a cult following, especially for those who enjoy practical effects and sci-fi movies, while maintaining classic 90s style. Quarantine, 2008. Okay, now this one is technically a remake of Wreck, 2007, which has been mentioned above, but it's still a fantastic movie that definitely demands a spot here. Basically, Quarantine is the Americanized version of the Wreck, so if you want to watch the movie but in an American setting, this is it. Wreck also gives a more gritty and localized experience, but Quarantine adds Hollywood glamour to it. The characters are more or less the same, with Jennifer Carpenter and Steve Harris playing the respective roles of Angela and Scott, who shadow a group of firefighters on a late-night emergency call to a Los Angeles apartment building. As they delve deeper, they realize that the building has been locked down by authorities, trapping them inside with the infected residents, who are gradually becoming more aggressive and violent. Again, was shot in a found footage narrative, with a one-shot filming technique to preserve the actors' raw reactions. Directed by John Eric Dowdle and co-written by John Eric Dowdle and Drew Dowdle, the movie has earned an IMDb rating of 5.9 out of 10 and is well regarded for its effective use of found footage and intense atmosphere. Jennifer Carpenter's portrayal of Angela Vidal is particularly compelling. Her transformation from a curious journalist to a terrified survivor adds emotional depth, making the audience feel every bit of her terror. Quarantine also leans more heavily on jump scares and gore, which is different from Wreck. Fans of realistic horror may prefer Wreck for its originality and suspense, whereas Quarantine serves as a solid introduction for audiences new to found footage horror films. Marvelous verdict. If you're brave enough to face a whole new strain of terror, these virus horror films are here to give you a thrill that sticks long after the credits roll. Each movie brings its own twist of madness and mayhem, capturing the thrill and horror of viral outbreaks on an epic scale. So, consider this your invitation to a cinematic quarantine, where the only cure is more scares. Grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and dive into these infectious nightmares. You may never see a virus the same way again. Who knows? You might just survive until dawn, if your nerves let you. Grab some popcorn and maybe some hand sanitizer and dive in. Your nightmares are about to get a lot more viral. Don't forget to let us know which one your favorite watch was. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe out there. Thanks, everyone.